Hey guys, Veebat here with another V-Plays, and we're going to be taking out the Hornet at Tier 7. This is going to be a British Tier 7 heavy fighter, and I've said this before a lot of times that the British heavies feel a lot more like a multi-role with a lot more altitude performance. This is going to be one of those aircraft that feels like initially you're getting a downgrade from the Mosquito, because the Mosquito had, the bombs were internal carriage, which meant that you actually didn't have any negative effects for drag, but in addition to that, you're getting 2,000-pound bombs that are doing 6,000 damage per bomb with a 300-foot blast radius, well, 295. And you're also getting these more robust air-to-air rockets. Now, you're also going to feel like you're getting a little bit of a downgrade, because instead of getting or retaining the light machine guns that came with, is that enough? Yes, it was. Nice. Retaining the 4 light machine guns that accompanied the 4 20mm cannons, you're actually losing those entirely. You're only going to have the 4 20mm cannons, and it's going to feel like you're missing out just a little bit. Ooh, there's a bomber here. Do I want to shoot at ground targets? No, I don't, but I may have to. Nose up. It's always safer to lift the nose up. Nice. Okay, cool. Whew. We are in a Tier 8 match, so I'm a little bit... I'm definitely going to feel it in this aircraft, mostly because we're just not real robust on the overall skill points. We've got Engine Guru 1 and Marksman 1. This is a nicer aircraft, though, because unlike its predecessors, it feels like it has a lot more climb rate. It also has a lot more... oh, man. Energy retention, if that makes any sense. So we can stay up at these altitudes, even though it's kind of outside of our comfort zone, without feeling like we've really sacrificed as much as we would have like in a bow fighter with like 230 feet per second climb rate. This is going to get a little bit better. It's going to feel much more robust. There we go. We are well outside of our comfort zone for altitude regime, but let's go ahead and F2 that. We get a 120-second reload on the air-to-ground ordnance, which is actually going to be fairly respectable. I'm actually happy with that amount of like reload time, because that's going to be what I would consider to be a decent reload time for a multi-role. So for a heavy, that's even better. Focke-Wulf 190D on the enemy team, and an F2G. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to drop the 2 biggins. Don't need to worry about anybody stealing any of my capture here, which is nice. Just a couple of smokestacks left. Ooh. Nope, we lost the bomber. Ah, that stinks. Smokestacks, my nemesis. Whew. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. The pseudo ground attacker over here. Nice! Haha! So, it's not the coolest gameplay to see me shooting at ground targets, but I'm happy with these results. Getting both of those mining plants, that's a lot of blue on the map. And when we're going up against Focke-Wulf 190D and an F2G while flying an aircraft like this, I'm going to be happy to have this much of an impact on the battlefield. You're engaging my bomber, and you're at full hit points. There we go. These are pretty good 20s. They're going to be Hispano Mark 5s, which are going to be the same type of guns that you would see on a Tier 8. So, pretty decent. There's the Focke-Wulf 190D down there. And that is a P-38. 109 TL. Not in a hurry to engage that aircraft. Focke-Wulf 190. Very consistent guns with these 20s. Take it nice and easy, re-engage the enemy Hornet. Using the range that these guns have, the good accuracy, keeping them pulsed, keeping them cool so they're accurate. And there we go. What else? Yeah, but it's not doing them much good because we just ticked over on both mines when they never... Well, they didn't really retain any of their mines. This may be pretty much over. Squall line. And that was pretty much it. Let's throw up a GG. And yeah, 9,860 capture points. We were bottom tier. We were paired up with another bottom tier aircraft, although specialized, and we were still able to turn that into a win despite being up against an F2G. And arguably, a Focke-Wulf 190 is a pretty strong platform. It's going to support those 230s, the 220s, and the 213mm machine guns, as well as a fairly robust bomb and rocket combination with a pretty quick reload, if I recall. I think it's like 90 seconds for the bomb, so there's a 90 seconds for the rockets. Either way, it's as a multi-role. If it's not having to engage a bunch of light fighters the entire match, it actually can perform fairly well. We only captured 2 sectors. Both of them were the mining plants, but we saw how effective that was. Our air-to-ground damage was 35,000 damage. Now, we dropped a full set of payload twice. These are going to be able to do about 20,000 damage total between each of them, so not necessarily the best. We essentially left about 4,000 damage out there that probably was because both 1,000-pounders in one spot on that zone may have been a bit of overkill. It might have been better for me to split these 2,000-pounders up a little bit, but the 1,000-pound bombs are pretty deadly here. It's 6,000 damage, nearly 300-foot blast radius, and that's at tier 7. And the air-to-ground rockets are doing about 1,000 damage apiece, and they get obviously a smaller blast radius, but again, 120-second reload. So we'll eventually be able to increase that output with the outboard weapons pylons, and most likely, I think I would end up going with the hardened pylons, which would allow me to be able to reduce the reload, because I can get the reload down to about 100 seconds if I go to full ultimate gear, and if I roll for the reduced reload on bombs or rockets, I can get one of those two down to 91 seconds if I'm not mistaken. And I most likely would go for the bombs because obviously they're the heaviest hitters on this aircraft. We don't even have a gun sight on this aircraft, and you saw how accurate these guns were. By having 420s mounted in a central location on an aircraft, it was able to perform quite well. We went with the long barrels because we want to engage aircraft as far away as possible, so that way we're not going to have to get really close to the enemy, because the further away we engage them, the less likely they are to react to us before we're ready to start firing. I only want them to start maneuvering if they're going to maneuver once I've already opened up with the cannons. I don't need them maneuvering as I'm on approach, and this gives me that opportunity. We do have the option of putting in the engine boost mixture, which is what we're running right here. There could be an argument for an operated engine on this platform. I did say it flies a lot more like a multi-role, and that might be an option, but it's always nice to be able to get that ability to kick it up to the higher air speeds. I mentioned before that the British multi-roles kind of lack in overall climb performance, but we're finally getting up into the 300s on this airframe, and if we were to compare it with some of the other British heavies, like the Blenheim is going to be 193 feet per second. The Beaufighter's 227. The Mosquito is 279, or 310 rather, because we do have an ultimate piece of boost mixture here. But here we're starting to feel like we're climbing fairly well when it comes to the Hornet. So I like the Hornet. When I ran through this line the first time, this was when I was starting to get a much better feel for the British heavy aircraft, and I was really starting to appreciate them a bit more, and the Hornet is where that all kind of came together. So it's one of those aircraft that I remember fondly, and it was nice to be able to repurchase this and start trying to grind towards specialization on this platform. I think it's a neat looking aircraft. It doesn't have the same fun history as the Mosquito of being, you know, alternate build materials and being part of a competition to reduce the strain on the strategic materials in the British Air Force. But the Hornet was the follow-on, like, hey, you know, let's build a follow-on to the Mosquito's style of being kind of a night fighter slash bomber aircraft. That's another reason why they mounted the cannons so deep underneath the fuselage, is that way it wouldn't cause night blindness for the pilots once their eyes were adjusted to kind of have some night vision. Having the cannon flash in front of the aircraft caused some serious issues. Like I said, the Mosquito had the same type of concept going on, but it still had the light machine guns mounted in the nose as well, so you were technically getting more guns with the Mosquito. But the Hornet's upgrade to Mark V cannons makes it much more potent, in my opinion. Like, you're looking at the same cumulative damage output, but when half of those guns are going to be suffering from a lack of range, yes, theoretically they're the same damage output, but functionally this aircraft is going to have a much more consistent damage output when it comes to that cumulative 460 number that you're seeing, and a much better range to be able to bring them to bear. So yeah, I think the Hornet's a good aircraft. I think I've said that a couple of times already, but hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll catch you on the next one.